What's grounded, fam? It's your boy Johnny Gio. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Grounded Phoenix podcast. The purpose of this channel is to express vulnerability and expand awareness to addiction, trauma, and mental health. I got Harley on the mic with me right now. What's grounded, my boy?
What up, everybody? How you doing?
Dude, thank you so much for joining me, man. So we chopped it up on Instagram, dude.
Yeah.
The most important thing that I caught on that was your positive message that you have to the world. But before we get to that, I really want to discuss and just give us an understanding of the turbulence that you've been through as a child all the way leading up to your addiction.
All right. Well, I was a young kid. I used to live out in Lancaster for a while, My parents had separated as a kid, and so I stayed with my mom for a while, go back and forth between my parents. Well, growing up, I watched my mom sell drugs, make drugs, other boyfriends, run in and out of the house, the fast life. So it's like I grew up knowing that was all I knew. I didn't know what it was to have a regular 9 to 5 or none of that. So naturally, I'd watch different guys coming in and out of the house, drugs coming, going, guns, everybody. My house was the spot. So I ended up naturally started gravitating towards that life.
Right.
So at a young age, I was like probably 14, 15, I started slinging weed. My family was like, oh, we're on a budget. We really can't do nothing for you, So naturally, I came up on some money somehow, Don't need to get into details, but I went and bought drugs. And I started flipping it at a young age. I used to ride around on a bicycle, backpack full of drugs.
How old were you?
I was about 13 or 14.
For sure.
So I was smoking weed at the time, that was my gateway drug. I smoked weed every day. Mm-hmm. So I used to ride around, sell big drugs. And then naturally after that, went to high school, started messing up more, fights, getting into it with people, disputes over drugs. It really didn't matter. And then I had sat there and I was like, man, weed really wasn't enough. I had went to juvenile hall for some bad things, and I got out, I got introduced to meth,
Okay.
I did it. I was like, man, I did it for a little while, a couple weeks, and I realized, man, this really wasn't the drug for me because I watched it tear my whole family apart as a kid, My parents ended up separating, all that. I was back and forth between the Valley and Lancaster, bouncing from parent to parent, whoever could hold my stability. And then, so I seen that drug and I was like, man, I didn't really gravitate towards it. I turned 18 years old. I did the whole cocaine, the Molly, ecstasy. I ran through all the party drugs that everybody did, the downers, the uppers. And, I sat there and I did them for a while, started selling more, and then started selling more. And then I got introduced to the gang life by running into other individuals.
Because of the drugs?
Well, the drugs is where I ran into them at, and being around them based on the drug scene of Palmdale, Lancaster, and the Valley, I naturally gravitated towards them. Mm-hmm. Like both of my parents have been to prison, so I thought it was always a stepping stone. That was the life that you go to prison and then what you do after that is who you are.
Right.
It wasn't, go to the army and go have that type of career. I always thought prison was the life to go. And it's a messed up feeling when you're a kid to think like that. But in my mindset, I didn't realize that was wrong.
It was just in your subconscious mind from the get-go.
Yeah, just being around it my whole life, that's what I thought, being a grown-up was about. Mm-hmm. So at 18, I ran through the drugs. I got expelled from school, beat up a security guard, because the rival gang tried to jump me. I beat him up, and then the security guard had grabbed me. I beat up the security guard, not realizing it. Damn. I turned around, fired on him.
Right.
Ended up going to jail for it as a kid. And then I just sat there, gravitated heavily into the drugs and the gang scene. And then I went to prison for my first time.
Okay.
I did 4 years. I had got out, was still running around with everybody. I was out 7 months, went back for another 4 years.
Snap. So you've been in and out, in and out.
I've been in and out. The longest I've been on the streets as an adult was 2.5 years. Other than that, I'm 32 years old. I've been out on the streets maybe 4 years of my whole adult life. It's nothing to brag about, and it's something I regret to this day.
Right.
But, I can't change my past. I can embrace it and change it and be a different person for the future.
Right.
So
you were involved with meth, but you said that wasn't your drug of choice. So what was the addiction? What was the drug that you got addicted to?
Heroin was my drug of choice, but I didn't really get introduced to heroin till I was in prison. You know what I'm saying? I did heroin for the first time in prison. Was all right. It's a cool high because I always liked downers. Okay. I didn't really like uppers. And then throughout the prison term, I actually, embraced heroin. And then I had came home. I had stayed clean, a couple weeks when I first got home in 2011. And then I'd use once a month because of my probation or my parole. I had the piss test. So I'd sit there, I'd use once a month, and then I'd stay clean the rest of the month.
And that wasn't enough for you to get sick, like just once a month?
Well, no, because I'd buy a certain amount, I would use it, and I'd be done with it for the month. I would go piss test again the next month, and I would use it. I used it in moderation. Like some people use, cocaine is a party drug on the weekends. I would use heroin in that aspect. And then, I got off parole in 2011. And then after that, I didn't have the constraints and restraints to hold me back.
Right.
And after that, I went from using every couple weeks to using every day, And with a drug like heroin, you sit there and you build up a tolerance. So next thing you know, you were shooting up a 20 a day to a 40 a day. Next thing you know, you're doing a gram. At my weakest point, I was doing 3 grams a day.
Snap.
So it's like that's something that it controls your life. It takes everything away from you. It brings you to your absolute low. And unless you've actually experienced addiction to heroin, you don't know how hard it is to get that monkey off your back. It's the hardest drug there is to kick on in the game, bro. I don't care what nobody says. And some people are like, oh, well, you can just quit. It's in your head. It's really not. Unless you've actually dealt with addiction, you don't understand how hard it is to kick an addiction. You might be doing good for a while, but all it takes is that one chance. And next thing you know, you're on that snowball rolling right back downhill.
So you could go in prison, kick it in prison, come back out clean, and it's instilled in your subconscious mind so deep it doesn't even matter. You're going to be right back at it?
Pretty much, without the right foundation or people around you, all it takes is going around that one person that uses that drug and all your willpower is gone. You know what I'm saying? All it takes, because a lot of people, if you don't change who you're around, it's not gonna keep you sober. I went around people that used, and at first I had the willpower for a couple of times to be like, nah, I'm good, bro. And then next thing you know, boom. That one day I was like, it's a rat, fucking give it to me, bro. And then next thing you know, it's not a drug that you just do one time. Like you'll tell yourself, oh, I can just do it once. And it's never a one-time deal, no matter how much you do it. Because that one time will always turn to another time. If you ever give in to that evil, it'll always bite you in the ass.
I feel that, dude. And I could hear it in your voice how strong the fucking disease is when it comes to heroin. So you had told me because of prison, that's when you started getting into heroin. So initially, where do you think going to prison really, stemmed onto you? Because I know you said that, that's what you thought that's what your life was going to be like. So what do you think filled that void, like, to go to prison? Like, what was that void that you felt like you had to fill?
I mean, I thought it was just a stepping stone, because both my parents have been to prison. All my so-called uncles that would come around, my dad's homeboys, my mom's homeboys, I thought the tatted up prison look was what life was about,
Right.
I would never really experience parents having careers and everything that set them for life. I grew up as a kid that had to struggle to get by, I grew up on food stamps and all that. People don't understand what it was like going into stores. Sometimes you'd have to go behind the store and find what they threw off the shelves for expired food from the inside, but it was still good.
It was still good.
Just because it was a Best Buy day doesn't mean it was bad food.
Right.
I used to live off those donuts that they would throw away in the trash can in the back. You know what I'm saying? Because they expired because they've been out on the shelf too long. Like that, I grew up as a fucked up kid, and it shaped my mentality as an adult for a while, I thought that that's what life was supposed to be like. I didn't have the better side of life that kids you know, had everything given to him. I had to struggle and fight for everything that I had, you know, and it's just that void. I just felt that it was something, you know, that was an accomplishment, a goal at that young age, you know, to, oh yeah, I've been to prison. I thought it was something that gave you credentials, not realizing that prison ain't shit when you're outside, man.
Oh, that's deep, bro. I think a lot of people can relate to that. Let me ask you, what was your darkest moment in prison?
Darkest moment in prison, I would have to say, was this time around when my dad died, you know, because I dreaded the first 2 prison terms that I did. I dreaded that, man, you know, losing a loved one that was close to you, my parents, you know. I didn't really have very much close family. Like, I had an aunt and a couple, you know, but I wasn't as close to anybody as I was to my dad.
So I'm sorry about your loss, bro. You know, I could tell, you know, you really had a really strong relationship with your father. But moving forward, dude, what were the biggest challenges that you had to face coming out of prison?
I mean, biggest challenges I would say was finding stability, man. You know, I was blessed to have a woman that stuck through me, even though I've been at my lowest points, you know. We've had our ups and our downs, but I came home with stability. I've come home before with no stability, and that's the hardest challenges most people face. You don't have nobody to come home to. You don't have family that's going to pick you up. You don't have nothing, you know, so you basically come home straight to the streets.
Right.
So, I mean, my biggest challenges was finding the stability. Luckily, I found the stability before I came home. Put my differences aside with my old lady, and, you know, we worked shit out. And that right there is probably one of my biggest difficulties and shit upon coming home, other than, you know, trying to find a job also. But luckily, in prison, I learned how to tattoo. So I've always been able to, you know, hustle to get by, do some tattoos here and there, make a couple $100 every couple of days. You know, I was blessed to pick up that talent while I was in prison and transfer it to being home. So the biggest challenges is normally stability and income, you know, but this time around I was blessed to have those 2 things. I have a brother that has a construction company that will always employ me, you know. My brother Justin, I can always go out to Lake Havasu, no matter how bad I am or anything. He'll tell me, come bring your ass out here, bro. You always got a spot in my truck to work, you know. So I don't have the same struggles that most people do, you know, in that aspect. Had I not had the stability to come home to, where I would be today wouldn't be the same. And that's the key thing, is stability, man. That's the biggest challenges anybody faces when they come home.
Aside from that, what else do you find stability in? Is it other people, friends, sober people?
I find my stability in sober friends that are going to pick me up, you know. Shall I fall down? You know, shall I doubt myself? You know, because the moral conscience, you always question yourself. You know, am I good enough for this? Am I going to be able to do this? And, you know, you always got that little devil over there like, man, just
Big
go
fact.
get high. Fuck everybody.
Yep.
You know, nobody gives a fuck about you. You always have that good and that bad. You're the yin and the yang, you know. So I find stability with sober friends, you know. My boys at DST, Matt and Vince, you know, I've reached out to them when I was struggling, you know, doubting myself. Because you're your own worst critic, man.
Right, big time.
You'll always be in your own head.
Always.
You know, you can have 1 million people behind you, but in your own head, if you don't have the confidence, you're never going to get nowhere, you know. Everybody can tell you you're good enough, but if you don't believe in yourself and you don't have the self-respect and courage, you'll never get nowhere, man. So I find the stability in my sober friends, my old lady, you know, being able to reach out to other friends that have common likes and values.
Right.
That's the other things I find stability in, you know. I've replaced my addiction with other things, working out, my cars, my family, you know. That's a big thing, you know, because when you've been in addiction so long, you have a void, you know, because you've distanced yourself from everybody and everything that really matters, because you're so lost in your addiction, you don't know which way's up, which way's down. But, you know, when you have a sober mind, you can gravitate towards what really matters.
Right.
So, I mean, friends, family, sober friends, you know, being able to reach out to people and them actually respond and give a fuck is what really helps you have stability.
And it really means a lot to you, right?
It does, man. My boys over at DST, like, I talk to them a lot, you know. I get a lot of good advice, a lot of wisdom for what I want to do for my future, you know. Vince, Matt, you know, because they're on paths that I want to follow. You
Big
know?
time. Role models for sure. Shout out to DST.
Shout out to both them boys, you know. And it's like, I just had like an hour-long conversation with Vince and Matt on the way up here about, you know, your image, the things you've been through. Don't let your past define who you are, and don't bring your past to your future. You know, you got to leave the things that you've been through and all that. You got to, if they're negative, leave them in the past, bro. Bury those things, because you don't want the negative to come taint your future.
Right. Big facts, though. Big facts. And I see the DST tattoo you got on you. Go ahead and flash that real quick. That shit looks nice, bro.
That don't stop trying, man. Never
That's
give
right.
up.
All right. So enough about the past, bro. Let's talk about the present, dude. I know you're sober and clean now. How long are you sober and clean?
Been sober for 19 months now, you know. And
19
I'll tell you
months.
this, it's been a struggle. You know, because I have hung around people that have used, you know. It wasn't my drug of choice, so I have more willpower. I purposely avoid people that are heroin addicts for that simple fact, because, you know, your mouth to water, you're gonna want to go get high. You know, you can resist it 9 times out of 10, but that one time, bro, you're gonna fall. And when you fall to that drug, man, it's not just a one-time thing. You just snowball, and you're fucked after that.
Right. That's just no joke. What is the best way to describe the feeling of being clean and sober, and what are a couple of things that you really enjoy doing sober?
The feeling is, man, I'm like really happy, you know. It makes me feel like a better person, you know. I don't have to have my head down in shame, you know, because I'm some loaded fucking junkie, you know. I mean, mostly when you're loaded, you can't fucking keep your head up anyway. You're not now, you know.
Right.
But I can walk around knowing that I'm a different person. So all those people that said I couldn't fucking do it, fuck you, you know. And that's the biggest accomplishment and feeling that I have, walking around with my head held high, knowing that I can do it, no matter what nobody says. Mm-hmm. I had everybody doubt me and say I'll never change, you know. So it's the best feeling, being sober and being able to walk around and just throw it in those people's face like, fuck you, I did it.
That's right.
You know, the things I like to do. I like to go hang out with the family, you know. I get time in with certain individuals, you know, Vince, Matt, go catch lunch, go catch a meeting with them, you know. It's just a whole different thing. Being sober, being around sober people, because your values and outlook on life are totally different than when you're high, man. When you're high and all you think about is addiction, bro, you don't care about nothing. You know, there's been days that I didn't shower. I've been homeless, living in a park because of my addiction. I couldn't break away from it. I mean, I value those family times, you know, just to be able to be home and hang out, you know, be able to hop in the car and cruise down to the beach. You know what I'm saying? Be able to drive past a cop, not thinking, damn, I got drugs on me. Oh my God. You know what I'm saying? Thinking, oh, here we go. I'm fucked.
Hey, it's like, man, I wish this motherfucker pulled me over.
Yeah, like, I get pulled over probably every couple of weeks, you know. I tell him, like, man, I'm used to the routine, bro. There's nothing in the car. Do your thing. I'm like, you're going to be sadly disappointed. You can tear the car up. I'm used to it. I don't keep the car in good shape because, you know, you're just going to fuck it up anyway.
That's right.
But it's one of the best feelings knowing that you have nothing to worry about, man.
Nothing to worry about. And it's the small things in life that you start to value once you're sober, right? Like, you know, the love, the affection from people, doing those, like going to the beach and shit like that.
The freedom, man. The freedom of knowing that you don't have to, you know, get high to feel good. The love that you get is a whole different high. The support and encouragement that you get from your friends and family when you're sober is a whole different high.
Bro, I feel you on that shit. I fucking feel you on that shit. It's the sober high. So if there's a message that you want to get out to the audience right now, what is that? What would it be?
You know, don't let your addiction define you, and don't stop trying. Whatever you do, you know, you can overcome any adversity so long as you don't stop trying, man. Keep pushing. And life is always greener on the other side. Don't let your addiction, your past, negativity, don't let anything like that define who you are, man.
Dude, I really appreciate that message. I really think it's going to resonate to a lot of people out there. One more question before you go. You already know what's coming, dog.
Yeah.
You already know. There's 3 things in life that are guaranteed and that are marked in our gravestone, and that is our birthday, the day we passed, and that dash in the middle that we overlook. What is your dash going to represent to you?
I want my dash to represent, you know, that I was somebody that didn't let my past define me. I can overcome whatever adversity life's thrown at me, and I can always come out on top, whether it be addiction, prison, negativity. I want to be known for, damn, that motherfucker never gave up. He didn't stop trying. He kept pushing, and damn, look at him now. He's a bright star that just kept on shining. Everybody doubted me. You know what? I proved them all wrong. That's what I want to be known for, proving everybody fucking wrong that doubted me.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the best feeling when someone says, you know what, you can't do this. Guess what? I fucking did that shit.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate you, man. That shit was fucking badass. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
I'll never be the same.